Wakanda forever!
All right, we want to say hello to yes, and especially you. This is Pastor Jeff, and we are so excited that you joined us here on the Tom Ford Fridays, the men who support and build women and their businesses. This is brought to you by none other than the GW3, the Global Women Wealth Warriors Club. And the founder and curator is none other than Queen herself, Miss Renee Noor. This is our barbershop conversation where the men get an opportunity to come out of their caves and talk without being interrupted by the ladies. Ladies, we want you to be flies on the wall, whether you on the live or whether you on Clubhouse. And get your pens out, get your pads out. And I know many of you think you know how men think, but if you will be quiet for a moment and take some notes, you'll hear from the men themselves who actually have the men brains. That's what we're going to do. So I'm excited about the show. We've got some great kings that are joining us on today on the Clubhouse as well as here in your house on Facebook and on YouTube. Now, we want to ask you to please continue to put comments in Facebook, put comments on the YouTube, put comments in the chat on Clubhouse, as it helps us to be able to reach other people, those who need to be here. And if you know someone on Clubhouse, look, you know what you got to do. Go ahead and hit that square with the up arrow and share on Clubhouse, share on your social media platforms, and let folks know, hey, we are in the house, the Tom Ford Fridays, where the men are going to chop it up. And if you take good notes, you just might learn something. So with that, we're going to go ahead and bring our guests up that are here with us live. And then I'm going to tell you who we have in the Clubhouse, those who are watching that may not be on Clubhouse. So as our producer goes ahead and bring our live guests up, once we introduce them, then we'll go ahead and introduce those that are joining us on Clubhouse. So we should be bringing up King Mac and King Tarico. We should be bringing both of those up on the live. And we got a little bit of feedback. Sorry about that. So is there someone unmuted on Clubhouse? All right. So we're waiting for them to come. While we're waiting on them to come up, we do have, again, joining us on our live will be Tyrico and King Mac. On Clubhouse, we have King Rob, we have King Don, we have King Professor, and we've got King Antoine. And so it looks like we have King Mac with us. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, doing good. How you doing, Pastor Jeff?
I'm doing wonderful. Are you ready to chop it up with us?
Yes, sir. I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's get it. I'm ready to rock and roll.
All right. And if we can get King Tarico up alongside of us, then we'll go ahead and get this live kicked off. We'll start out with two questions from the women, and then we're going to go into the questions for the men. And we ask you, if you're not speaking, please go ahead and make sure that you mute so we can keep down the feedback on Clubhouse as I'm feeding Clubhouse from where I'm at. So if you're not speaking, we ask you just to go ahead and go on mute. And so I suppose Tarico will join us once he gets on. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the question because we can do it here with you as well as on the clubhouse. So I did a survey this week, King, among women that I know. I asked them to share with Pastor Jeff 3 questions that they would like men to answer. And what I discovered is that overwhelmingly, yeah, I think I got it right. Women want security.
Mm.
The majority of the questions I received were women wanting to know or questions pertaining to them being secure. So I'm going to ask this question because it's one of the questions that the women ask. Even though I would share with most of them that this particular question is in a lower frequency question, but I asked the questions that the women want to know. So
Okay.
the question was, why is it so hard for men to forgive women when they cheat? That's the question. Don't judge me. That's the question that one of the women want to know. So what do you think, King? Why from your perspective? And let me
Mm.
say this, and we put the disclaimer out. The
Right.
views that are expressed on this show are not necessarily the views of Renee Noor, the GW3 board, or the Global Women Wealth Warriors board, but are indeed the opinions and the views of those on whom they are shared. Now that I got that out of the way. So, what do you think? They want to know, why is it so hard for men to forgive women when they cheat?
Good. First, good question. Good question. I would have to say, Pastor Jeff, and this is just again my opinion. I think it's more a masculine uh, type ordeal where the man is ideal strong, supposed to be strong, the backbone, and it's almost as if a man is cheated on by a female, it's almost like a sense of violation of that strong masculinity. It's almost as if it may be weak. A man may feel as if they may be weak for not having everything, or for that women to go outside of the relationship to cheat. Um, you know, I think that it, yeah, I think that's it. It's more so of a security, just being strong. The man is idea. Yeah, idea is the man's supposed to be strong, that backbone, and when that man is cheating on, it's like a sense of violation of that quote unquote manhood, that masculinity. So when the cheating is done, it's almost that it's an outrage. Like how could you? How dare you? Type um, type of situation. So I ultimately I would think it's just a violation of a manhood, not being having everything that the woman needs right there in that household, and it can be for a number of reasons. Doesn't that necessarily have to be from a sexual standpoint? It could be from emotional standpoint, but just not having everything um, in the quote unquote total package for that female.
That's a very good point, King Mac. And I agree with you on each one of those points. But one of the things, and I'm going to suggest a book that women and men can read, and that's because men's brains are men's brains and women brains are women brains, and we don't think alike. And that's why oftentimes when women think they know what men are thinking, they're wrong because they're thinking like a woman. They might know what another woman is thinking, but in most cases they're wrong about what a man is thinking. And that's because we think different, we process things different.
Right.
And so for women, when women process cheating, when they've been cheated on, they process it a different way than men do. And they, from what I've been told, because I'm not a woman, they process it from an emotional perspective. When men process it, we process it from the perspective of, and I don't agree with this, but it's what I've learned over time, that a large majority of men process it as that woman becomes damaged goods. It becomes
Mm,
a disrespect. You to cheat on me is disrespect. It's
right.
not about the emotions, because overwhelmingly when men cheat, it's not about the emotions. It's not about love. But that's what women process, and that's why so many women are so hurt over it.
Mm,
For men, it becomes it's a necessity. It's a release about respect. This woman respects me. She honors me. She sees me. She's supporting me, and I'm not getting that from my woman. But I still love my woman.
right.
If I could get all of that from her, then I would stay there with her. All right. So we process it different. Now, I don't agree with that. That that the woman becomes damaged goods, and that's a deeper conversation to get into. And that's one that I do when I'm doing facilitating marriage counseling, because there's something else that's deeper. And the reason it's I don't get into it now is that it's deeper that men don't realize. That's the first thing they think about, but it's really something deeper that in most cases men haven't been taught to tap into, which leads me into the second question that was asked by a young lady in her 20s. So
Okay.
her question was, why aren't men true to their emotions?
Mm.
Why aren't men true to their emotions? What do you think about that, Matt? And then I'm
I
gonna go.
just
Actually, Matt, before that, I almost forgot. Give me a moment. Forgive me. Let's
no.
let's go to the clubhouse and
Okay.
ask some of the men on the clubhouse about this first question. So I want to go to King Tarico. If you're there listening to King Tarico, why is it? The question was, why is it so hard for men to forgive the woman when she cheats? Are you there, King Tarico?
I'm here, Pastor Jeff. That's a phenomenal question, and I'm sorry I couldn't be with you guys live today, but I just want to say that it's understanding that the mental space and the mindset of a man since the beginning of time, right?
Mhm.
That when Adam was in the garden, it wasn't Adam who saw that he needed support and help, right? The Bible actually says that God looked at man and said, he needs some support and help.
Mhm.
Mm,
So I'm going to say that men carry a ego about, okay, now that you've entered my space, and when I looked at you, when he looked at the woman, he said, she's bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, which translated as ownership to him, right? She is me. And so when you go and you step outside of me, you have now disconnected from me and connected to be bone of bone and flesh of flesh to someone else. And we struggle with bringing you back to ourselves because we don't feel that ownership anymore, right? That when you were with me, you were mine. Now that you left me and went elsewhere, the mindset and the ego says you no longer belong to me. And so, as men, because we're not tapped in to the emotional part, to be emotionally regulated, we don't even know what to do with those emotions that we're experiencing when we feel a woman has been not loyal to us. Because we don't emotionally understand how to process it, we let it go, and it's easier to just run away, right? Because if I run away, I don't have to confront this feeling that I have.
Mhm.
And so I agree with what you said, Pastor Jeff. It's a much deeper issue going on in us. It's not a brokenness in the woman, it's a brokenness that's in us that we have to dig deeper into and make those discoveries for ourselves.
That's good, Tarico. And I want to ask now, what you said is absolutely correct. It depicts the mindset of a large portion of men. Of course, it's not all men, because all men are not alike, just like all women are not alike. Other than the fact we have brains. But I want to ask you this question before I go to the next king, Tarico. in what you just expressed and what I expressed, I can hear the ladies wanting to ask the question. So I'm going to ask it for them. I'm not giving them an opportunity, but I want to ask it for them. If that's how we process it, why don't we stay home? Why do we go out?
Are you referring to the men? Why do we not stay at home?
Yeah, why if that's how we process it, then why do we cheat? Why do we break that bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh?
So let me say it this way, that a man that is leaving his home is not leaving his home. He's leaving a house.
Say that one more time. Come on.
A man that is leaving his home is not leaving a home. He's leaving a house. Because when a man finds home, he stays there. When a man finds home, he stays there. And so what happens is that maybe your house was a home, but something happened and you weren't willing to do the work. We weren't willing to have these conversations, the hard conversations, in order for it to feel like home again. And as long as a man is just coming to a house and not coming to a home, then he's going to be always searching for a home to go to. And wherever he finds home is where he'll go and take off his shoes and other things.
I think you're helping somebody, King Tarico. I want to go to King Rob. King Rob, your perspective on this question. What do you have to say about it, King?
You said a lot of stuff. Which question you want me to start with?
Well, let's go with the original question from the ladies, which was, why do men find it difficult to forgive when they've been cheated on?
I'm about to put myself in the audience. I refuse to answer that question on the grounds of incriminating myself. No, just joking. Just joking. I'll just speak for myself. I'll just speak for myself. All right? I ain't gonna speak for a man.
Okay.
Because I have been cheated on.
Okay.
It's physical.
Thank you for your vulnerability.
Absolutely. It's physical. We as men, we know there's just certain things that woman have, did and just to see it's mental. Just to know that it's possible that this individual, this woman did those things that it's just hard. You've seen the movie The Best Man. If you ever see the movie, there's a scene where Morris Chestnut, he was enraged. He was enraged because he pictured Taye Diggs sleeping with his fiance. Okay, so and it's just hard to come from that, come back from that. So I'm just going to say mentally, and I'm sure a lot of guys will probably agree with me. Mentally, it's just hard just to. It's just hard. So mentally, it's hard to overcome that. I'm just going to speak for myself. It's just hard to overcome. So, and it happened to me and I didn't go back because I just couldn't get over that, period. And she shouldn't have cheated on me anyway. I'm done speaking.
Thank you, King. Ron, thank you so very much. We greatly appreciate your vulnerability and your perspective. And of course, you can't be wrong because your perspective is your perspective. I want to go to King Antoine. Antoine, are you with us? All right, he may not be with us. And we'll go to the professor with that question. And when we come back, I want to go very briefly around with the kings on that perspective that King Tarico brought up. That is the difference between a house and a home, a difference between a house and a home to a man. And so with that, professor, if you don't mind, John Mike, let us know your perspective on why it's difficult for men to forgive women when they cheat.
I want to thank you for this great opportunity to be able to express my very, very honest opinion on a disappointment or a betrayal. Remember, even Peter was told, you will betray me. You will betray me. So when there is a betrayal that is so blatant and so intentional, I mean, it wasn't an error. You took steps to actualize that specific activity. Forgiveness is a little harder than it would have been if you use my credit card. If you use my credit card or abuse my credit card, I can take that very easily. But if I have confidence in you, just like Jesus had confidence in Peter as his disciple, and somebody that's been with him for 3 years, then a little girl comes around and said, "Do you know him?" I said, "No, never met him before. I don't even know what the heck you're talking about." It is extremely painful. And it works both ways, either side. But I'm sticking to the question asked. It is hard to swallow a disappointment, especially when you have kept your part of the bargain. It's hard, but God is a healer, and time is a healer. And done speaking.
Thank you, Professor. You said it's hard for the men to swallow a disappointment. And look here, gentlemen. Believe me, your opinions and your perspectives are your reality. But I just want to throw another question out there, just really quick. It actually is not a question, it's going to be a statement before we go to the perspective of a house and a home. And this is that perspective. That forgiveness, whether it's men forgiving or whether it's women forgiveness, that comes from disappointment. Because again, overwhelmingly, the questions that I receive, I can't tell you how many of the ladies, at least one of their 3 questions had to do with men cheating. So what is that? That's their security. And that's disappointment to them also. Now they process their disappointment a different way. It's coming out of their emotions. I can't believe you would do this to me. So we can go back to the all-time communication. Are we communicating well to each other? Are we communicating effectively? Do one of us think that we have a house and one of us think we have a home? Because if that is the case, then is it all of the person who goes out, is the man or the woman, is it all their fault? Or is it because there's a lack of effective communication and somebody is assuming that the other feels the same way that they feel? I don't know. You all think about it. We won't go, we could spend this whole hour talking about that one right there. But I want to go very quickly to the idea or the perspective that King Tariq brought up of the difference between a house and a home. We'll start out with the professor. We'll go around. Let's make this round a speed round, gentlemen, so that we can get into talking about the topic of the day of how do we as men support women? How do we build women? And how do we support their businesses? We're going to bring that around after this, but let's go ahead. Start with the professor. Professor, what's your perspective on the difference between a house and a home as it relates to a man? Can you give us a quick definition of what a house looks like and a quick definition of what a home looks like? Passing it over to you, Professor.
Thank you very much indeed. It is one thing to run from a fire into safety and refuge, is another thing to just pass the night. That's essentially where you can be vulnerable. You run into a rescue. You run into it for safety. Say the name of the Lord is a strong tower and the righteous run into it and they are safe. So when you look at a home, you can do anything and everything in a home. But in a house, you have to follow the rules and regulations. In a house, is almost like an institution. In a house, it's almost as if I'm there temporarily, I'm still going to go home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. We'll go and ask the same question to King Don.
How you doing, sir? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. Do you mind if I answer that first question first?
Go right ahead.
Okay. You know, because I think it's an important question. Because I think men do have a problem with women that have cheated on them. And I'm not trying to go back with you, but this is what I think the answer personally is. When we were young, right, we were taught to view our mothers as gods. And, you know, a woman is like a god, man. She really is. Your mother is the queen. She's the god, you know. And as we get older, we still see the woman as a god. And they really are truly gods, man. Women are just gods. They can't do nothing wrong, you know. And we see them as something that we're supposed to protect and cherish. And, you know, we don't see guys that way. Guys are just, men are just men, but women are gods.
Don, I want to interrupt just a moment. Can you speak a little bit louder or a little bit closer to the mic?
Well, let me get a little closer.
Yeah, they
women
can't hear
are
you on Clubhouse.
Is that better? Is that better? Women are just gods. And
okay.
when a woman is just a god, it's just hard to believe and the disappointment because she is viewed as such a god that she could mess up. And that's really what it is because, you know, we as men and people expect men to always screw things up. But, you know, the woman is she's the most feared. You know, if you look at the lion and the lioness, man, you can't mess with those cubs. You know, the woman is the person that takes care of the home. She's the person that take care of the family. And she's the most loved out of all the people on the planet. So for the woman to mess up is like for a god to mess up. And I think that's a really, really big thing. So, you know, people make mistakes and we have to learn to forgive because that's just what we do. And if you don't learn to forgive, you'll never really move on yourself. But I think the disappointment of that God is what the problem is, you know, because she's viewed as such a God in this world. That's my thought on that. And
well, Don, thank you so very much for that perspective as the ladies are seen as being our gods. And I don't know, does that put too much expectation on them or does it not? I'm just asking. I want to be neutral here, but that is a very good perspective, Don. So if you could move on for the speed round of what is your definition of a house and your definition of a home as it relates to being with your goddess.
Well, you know, I'm a real estate guy. So a house is something that you just have. A home is something that you cherish and you protect. You know, don't mess with my home. But you can break in my house and you can do what you got to do. When you break into my home, now we got a real problem.
Okay, Don, hold on a second. Pastor Jeff is going to interrupt you right there because you're giving me the externals. And what we want to hear is internals. What does it look like as far as what's the woman doing that makes it feel like a home? Or what is it that she's not doing that makes it feel like a house that it could get broke into?
Well, when you take care of your responsibilities, and that means that you really pay attention to the family, you know, because when a woman stops paying attention to the family will crumble. You know, dad, you know, we just dad, you know, and I'm just being real with you. You know, the woman, she cooks and cleans and she just know how to make you feel that warm and fuzzy on the inside, you know, and that's really what's needed to keep that home strong and positive. Where dad, you know, he's more that guy that's just gonna pay the bills. He's gonna be he's gonna be the person that kind of helps. He's the help with the decision making process. But moms, I'm telling you, moms are everything, dog. That's really what runs the show.
All right, we appreciate it, Don. We're gonna move on to Rob. Rob, your perspective in the speed round. What does it look like for a man in his house or the home? Are you there with us?
Yes, actually, someone just knocked on my office door, so I'm gonna handle that. But I'm still gonna be here.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and we'll move to Tyreek. Tyreek, you brought the subject up, Brother King. So could you tell us what does it look like if a man is living in a house, and what does it look like when a man is living in a home? And by the way, you don't have to give us the lyrics of that, brother.
You know I was coming with the
You,
Luther.
you know that's why I had to hit you. Don't give us lyrics. Don't give us Luther's lyrics. Give us Tyreek's lyrics.
So yeah, I'll tell you that, when you build a house, the construction workers come and they build the house, they lay down the concrete, they do all that stuff, right? And they build the house. But the home is built when you and your wife, when y'all go to the store and you pick out the furniture. You pick out the furniture and you talk about why you like this furniture. You talk about pictures that are going to go up. You talk about what you want the kitchen to look like. And so you talked about that in reference to communication. A house doesn't communicate anything. It's built by construction workers. But a home, there's communication about why we have the things we have, why we chose these special pieces, why they're significant. And so that's internal in even the relationship that exists between the man and the woman. That when I feel like you're understanding my specialty and I'm understanding your specialty, then I'm home and we can dance the night away.
That's a good perspective. I want to ask one thing on that. Actually, I'm going to make a statement. So I'm going to ask you personally, I'm going to make a statement on that comment. And I liked it, but you talked about the builders build the frame. But when you start to furnish it, when you start to put those things together that's on the inside of it, that makes it comfortable for you, you said that you do it together. Now, look, I'm just going to be real about it. A lot of men don't even want to be bothered with it. They're like, whatever you want, honey. I'm just gonna write the check. What you pick what you want, and I'm gonna get it. And so, what I heard you say, Tyrico, is that we need more than just write the check. Become involved. Let it be our decision rather than a your decision. But let me say this on the opposite side, ladies. When you cause us to live in the realm of happy wife, happy life, it means you happy and we just writing checks. Let's go, Brother Mac. Brother Mac, what do you think about in your definition in this speed round, difference between a house and a home?
Yes, sir. Love the question. Let me turn. Okay. Real quick, I use the analogy of like a neighborhood. In a neighborhood is filled with houses. You got a variety of different houses, but in that particular neighborhood, where is your home? That home is the one that you pull in the garage, you take your shoes off, you go to sleep in. That's actually yours. So when using the comparison and speaking with women, you have these different houses, but when you say no, but that's my home right there, meaning that that's your would it be your wife, fiance, or things that nature. It's a little bit more on a personal level. So that would be my perspective on it. But using a neighborhood, because you pull into a neighborhood, you see all these different houses. Okay, that's a nice house. That's a nice house. That's a nice house. But which house is your home? The one that you're going to actually pull into the garage, go inside, open up the refrigerator, and things of that nature. So when speaking, we're talking about women. I feel like that home, the one that's yours, so to speak. That's that one that you're supposed to have that bond with, that relationship with, furnished. While the other houses are the other quote unquote females or what have you. So that's just my little quick.
All right, that's a
You
good
know.
perspective. Let me ask you this question:
Yes, sir.
would you agree that if a woman really wants to know what her man thinks the difference is between him living in a house and coming to his home, that she really ought to have a conversation with him? Would you agree with
I,
that?
I agree with that. I agree, and then ultimately, what you have said earlier, that communication is key. You got to have that communication. So there is no misconstruedness of the house and the home. You got to be on the I feel on the same level, same wavelength, and what's gonna spark and make that happen is the communication, the conversation, and things like this. So yes, I agree.
All right, I want to go to King Rico. You brought the subject up, but you would agree with that if a woman really wants to know what a man's definition of a house and a home is, that she ought to ask her man. How about it, King?
Well, of course, I agree 100% that earlier I said that there's a specialty that each man carries. And so you can be showing up in your house in relationship with somebody else's specialty, trying to love the man that you're with. You can be in your house and angry about things that have happened and living with your fears from your past and not tapping into the specialty of what you have in your home, the man that you're with now. So in order for you to understand and find unity, communication is finding common interests and finding community where you are. What are the things that I can go to? What are the things that I like? Not where you've been. And so that specialty comes from having those special deep dive conversations with your man. Who are you? What do you love? What do you like? Have you put together a list for yourself as a woman to understand how he likes his food cooked? What's his favorite meal, right? What is he like when he comes into the house? Like creating an atmosphere that he loves and looks forward to being a part of with you, and he doing the same thing for you. And that's how you create a home.
King Tarico, this conversation is so rich. I wish I could carry it on. I'm going to say this, put this last comment on it, and we're going to move on to how do we support the women. And that is, if a man, this is just Pastor Jeff's perspective now, if a man grew up in a house because his mother didn't make it a home for his dad, perhaps he doesn't know what a home looks like, so he can't define it. So maybe you might have to help him to dig deep into his emotions and show him what a home is as you continue to grow together, so that he can discover that which has never been exposed to him. Y'all just think about that for a moment. So now, gentlemen, kings, I want to go to the topic of how do we as men, first of all, if we're going to support any woman, we need to support our goddess, as has been said today. We need to support our queen. We need to support the woman in our household. So I'm going to start with King Mac. How do we support the woman in our house? And then we're going to get into how do we support those who are in business.
Good. Another great question. I love it. First, I think it starts with just listening. You got to listen and know, what your queen or what that woman wants. What are her goals? What is she trying to do? What does she want to accomplish? I mean, because how can you assist and help if you have no clue of what what she wants to do? What is she trying to accomplish? So I think it starts, again with communication, but on the communication aspect, listening. Listen to what she really wants. What is she trying to do? So I think if you listen, then you got a full understanding as to what is it your queen ultimately wants, and then you can assist you know, by going to, you know, make that happen. So listening, the L word.
All right, listening. King
Yeah.
Tarico, how do we support the woman that's in our house?
So my lady is my queen, man. My lady is my queen. I hold her up there. I tell her every day that she's set alone in a crowded room every single day of my life. And prioritizing that means that constant communication, that making sure that I pay attention to the detail, making sure the same detail that I give, the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. So if I'm giving myself proper care, then I can properly care for her. And that's the priority is literally when you look in the mirror and you look at how you caring for you, and if you're not caring for you properly, then you're probably not going to give the proper care that she needs. But it starts with how you're loving you and then listening to her and loving her how she needs to be loved.
King, you brought a very good point, and I'm not going to get sidetracked on it, but I just want to bring it out, emphasize it, and that is taking care of yourself. If you don't love yourself, man, kings, if you're not taking care of yourself like a king, then how are you going to treat your queen like a queen? Because you're in a deficit. With that one, go ahead to King Don. King Don, how do we support the women that are in our own house? Are you with it, King Don? All right, we'll move to the professor. Professor, are you with us? All right, I don't see Professor. I see King James is on the stage with us. King James, are you with us?
Hey there, I'm here.
Would you like to answer the question? How do we support the women that are in our own house?
Define house. Are you talking about the Global Women Wealth Warriors or someone at home?
Well, in our own home, our own home. I should have been saying home and not a house. As Mac was saying, a house is the one that causes us to leave out. So how we support the women in our own home? Basically, our wives or our spouses. That's what we're speaking of.
Yeah, I'm kind of running single right now, so I'm not the best person to answer that.
All right. Well, thank you for being transparent. We'll move on and we'll go to asking the question of now, as we've talked about, how do we, first of all, take care of our own home? And that is first by taking care of ourselves. King Tarico talked about caring for ourselves. And if those of you who subscribe to the ancient text called the Bible, if you do, if you don't, that's okay. But it is suggested that we love our wives as we love ourselves. And if we don't love ourselves, that means then we just don't love our wives. And so we got to self-care first. They tell you on the airplane. It's the airplane perspective. When that mask drops, put yours on first so that you're able to help others. But I want to ask our gentlemen, our kings, now, how do we support our sisters, women who are in business? I'm going to go to King Tarico first and want to ask that. How do we help our women who are in business? How do we support them? King Tarico, mic's over to you.
Thanks, Pastor Jeff. I'll try to be really quickly. The one thing that I say first is I pray with my woman. We do devotional every morning and we spend time in the word at night. And that's where, for me, I help her best by making sure that she's spiritually equipped, that she's spiritually fed, but also that I find out from her what her needs are of the day. The Bible talks about renewing your mind daily. We have to renew our mind daily about the woman that we're with. And that's getting new information from her on how we can love her in the day. And that's being present. That's not living in yesterday because it's history. That's not living in tomorrow because it's a mystery. That's living in today, the present, because that's the gift. When you open up the gift, then you'll get the reward.
He said the gift, not living in yesterday because that's history, not living in tomorrow because that's mystery. Live in the gift today. I like that, King Tarico. We want to go ahead and go to King Rob. King Rob, how do we support our women in business? Passing the mic to you, Rob.
Are we talking generally, or are we still
We're
with
talking
the
in general
significant
now.
other?
Now we're talking in
Oh,
general.
all right. Well, once again, I'll just speak for myself. Just create an outlet for them and show them how much we appreciate them, highlight them on a daily basis. So that's one way, and that's what I do every day. I highlight women every day. I tell them, hey, I appreciate what y'all do. I tell them, the value that you bring. I mean, I could just go on and on about this topic because this is what I do daily, but that's what I do. Just create an outlet, create a platform, and just highlight them every day. Give them their flowers every day.
So
And I'm done speaking.
King Rob, if you don't mind, sir, King, there are other kings that are on the clubhouse and those that are here with us on live that may not be in that realm. So what would you share with us in this barbershop conversation if we don't know as men, as kings, how to support the women who are in business? If we grew up in a male-dominated society and we haven't shifted our mindsets yet, talk to us. Help us out. Tell us, what do we do, brother?
Repeat that last part of the question for me, please.
I said, tell us, what do we do? Maybe perhaps we grew up in a male-dominated society, those that may be in my age frame, to where, it was illegal when I was coming up for women to work. Women didn't vote. So if a brother is back in that mindset, how do we shift it as you have to understand how to support our queens?
Man, that's well, you just got to be open. I mean, times has changed. All right. We're not living in 1925, 1950s anymore. So you have to be open first. How about that? Start there. You got to be open to it.
Right.
Okay. You got to be open.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you just listen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, so me, let's say someone who may feel that way, they'll have no clue. Just ask questions. Hey, where would you like to, have you ever thought about starting your own business? You can start about asking that question. And if you did start a business, what would you do? I guess open up a line of communications, gentlemen. That's it. Open up a lot of communication. If you are an entrepreneur as a man, if you are an entrepreneur, just have a conversation with a woman and just see what they're looking for. And if you can assist. All right. So if you're an accountant and you know that this person is going to need an accountant, have that conversation. So that's the best way I could say. Be open to the conversation. Just have more conversations with women about entrepreneurship, and then ask them, simple, what can I do to help? Period. Done speaking.
Thank you, King Rob. I like that. And as you talked about that communication, then asking questions, I just want to bring something up that we talked about in one of our previous shows so that the ladies understand, because this is one of those things where the men have to help the ladies and the ladies have to help the men, because we don't think alike. Our brains aren't the same. So, ladies, when we ask the question, don't give us a 2-hour dissertation. Because you're going to lose us. Give us little bites. Give us some little sound bites. And so that we can come back. Don't try to give it all to us at one time. Am I right, King Mac?
Yeah, I can agree.
All right. While you got the mic, brother, go ahead and answer. How do we support the ladies outside of the communication with their businesses?
Yes, sir. I think just boosting them up, man. Give them confidence, build them up. Just motivate them. Let them know that they are and they can do whatever. And real quick, I'll say opportunity. If you, a lot of times, if us as men, if we have an opportunity, why don't we go ahead and give that opportunity to to a woman, as long as if they're qualified and things of that nature. So I think a lot of times, opportunities are passed, to men a lot more than women. So, I think, was it Rob may have said it. If you know an accountant, if you can plug and make get that pass that ball, that assist, give an assist to a woman. I think that's one way we can, just by providing opportunity and uplifting and just motivating.
Absolutely, Mac. I want to pause for a moment and say thank you again to all of our supporters, to all of our listeners, those on Clubhouse, those on Facebook, those on YouTube. Look here. They're tearing up the chat on the live. I tell you what, they are participating. But we want you to go ahead and put some black and white hearts for the Tom Ford Friday, the black and white hearts in the comments on Facebook, on YouTube, as well as in the chat on Clubhouse. We need you to engage. We want to thank you for so far for what you've done. Go ahead and share on the live streams. That's your Facebook and on your YouTube. Like and subscribe, please. It helps us out. And on Clubhouse, go ahead and share on your other social media platforms as well, on your Twitter, on your IG, on your YouTube, and share it right there in the Clubhouse so that others can come into the room. This has been a rich conversation. And so how do we support our women in business? Look, man, if you happen to be in my age bracket, look, we have to evolve. The world has evolved. The woman's place is no longer barefoot in the kitchen having babies. You got to get that out of your mind. If you didn't know, we have a female African-American vice president of the United States. There are women who are leading countries, gentlemen. If you didn't know, if you're not staying up to date with your current affairs, women are no longer just in the house, having babies, cooking food, washing clothes, cleaning the house, changing diapers. We've got to change our mindset. And if we don't, then you're going to get lost. So we've got to change that in the way we support our women. First, we've got to understand who we are. When we understand who we are, for those from a spiritual perspective, we've got to understand whose we are. If you don't have the spiritual perspective, at least understand who you are. We understand whose we are, who we are, then we can answer the question, what is our why? And unless we are here as men are supporting, and that's what we're talking about, supporting, not authoritative or having authority over, but supporting, then we have to have these conversations about how do we support. And I believe, and if you think I'm right, go ahead and answer in the comments on the live as well as on the Clubhouse. I believe that what we are doing here as men under the GW3 Club, as well as the Global Women Wealth Warriors, which is curated and led by the Queen Renee Noor, we as men come on and do this men show in support of the women. We can have our own show. There's no doubt about it, right, Matt? We could do our own thing, but we're here supporting the ladies. We're supporting the queens. We're bringing that strong arm. And so, Matt, I'll come back to you again as it relates. I'm going to get personal. Outside of what we're doing here with the Tom Ford Fridays, each and every Friday of supporting the women as we do this men's conversation to help them hear how men think. What else are you doing, brother, to support women in business?
Yes, sir. As I mentioned earlier, just with my business, I practice what I preach, and providing those opportunities to allow women in business to come aboard my platform and my audience, and actually just bring awareness to these phenomenal women and these great things that they're doing. I've had the pleasure and the opportunity to have the Queen, Miss Renee herself, to come on my podcast, my platform, and highlight the GW3 community and everything, and all the amazing things that she has going on. So, me personally, it's just like I said, providing the opportunity to bring awareness to the great things that these fabulous women are doing, and that's something that I want to do. I built something, but in return, I want to extend it to try to assist, as many individuals as I can, but particularly women. So just providing and sharing what I have, and to ultimately highlight all the great things these women are doing in business. So just support in the and providing that opportunity, as I mentioned earlier.
Thank you, King Mac. I want to go to Professor. Professor, how can we, outside of what we're doing here on the Tom Ford Fridays, how are you supporting women in business?
Wow, thank you very much, because that's essentially what I spend over a third of my working life doing right now. We have seminars, we have workshops of how women can start up, scale up, and surmount current business challenges. We help them with how to get finance from different banks, what they need to do with bookkeeping, why the figures are most important. We work with them in terms of recruitment of staff, retention of staff, development of staff, because that's your greatest asset. We work with them in terms of maintaining a database of every single customer that comes through the door. You must take their name, telephone number, and email address, and then understand their needs and pivot multiple products from them, so that when one product goes down because there's low demand, or one product goes down because there's a recession, you have an alternative product immediately to serve them. Know thy customer. Once you know their customer, thou shalt meet their pains. You'll be able to work with their needs. And women-led businesses, by the way, most people don't understand this. Women-led businesses are less likely to fail. Why? Because women are more collaborative. They are more communicative when it comes to working with staff, and they are more sacrificial and dedicated. So we learned this from grandmama, and I don't want the next generation to fall into the trap of just getting a job. A job is just overbroke. You must create wealth as a woman, because you were made for creation, not just procreation. Thank you. I'm done speaking.
Thank you, Professor. And that is key. As I look into the chats on the live, the women said they are Renaissance women, which means that Renaissance men connect with Renaissance women, and you build each other, not tear each other down. Thank you so much for what you do, Professor, and supporting women in business. We want to go to, what am I going to now? We're going to go to James. James, I'd like to ask you, sir, besides supporting us here on Tom Ford Fridays, what are you doing to support women in business?
Just kind of speaking for myself, I'm like I said before, I'm working with my sister and about 4 or 5 other women, helping them to develop a pet food company. And I guess with that, I'm more or less a mentor and offering business ideas and just trying to build them up individually. As far as do they have a LinkedIn page? I think that's kind of critical. And offering different companies to contact for contract packaging, stuff like that. Um, and just kind of holding them accountable on like the next meeting to say, hey, did this or that get taken care of? And as I said before, I'm also a volleyball coach. I've coached in college and kind of helped a lot of different girls get into college. And I think once you're a coach, you're always a coach, and that never stops. And even past few weeks or so, we've had job offers come across the board, and my first thought is to shoot them off to some of my college players that still may be looking for something, so they can kind of get started if they're not working anywhere, and that right there could be a big lead off into any kind of business that they want to in the future. At least that's money coming in to give them some kind of income to move forward.
That
And
is
I think that's about it.
That is phenomenal, King. And I want to say, as we wrap up the live, I want to say thank you to each one of the kings, our guests on the live as well as on the Clubhouse. Don't go anywhere. Those of you that are on live, come on over and bring it over to the Clubhouse as we will continue this conversation. We might have to have a part 2 because we really didn't get into but 3 questions and this has been super rich. Ladies, if you have not checked out the profiles of those on Clubhouse who are supporting women so that you can connect with them, I don't know what you're waiting on. I know the conversation's been good. So now take the moment and go ahead and connect. Click on their profiles, give them a follow on Clubhouse, on YouTube. You want to connect with these gentlemen who are supporting women. And to the gentlemen who are supporting, I'm challenging you to take on a little brother and teach him how to support. If each one reach one, eventually we can reach the 7.5+ billion people in this global women wealth warriors, the global men wealth warriors, so that we all can be supportive of one another. Look here, in the event nobody told you today, Pastor Jeff wants to tell each and every one of you, the men and the women, you have an absolutely beautiful smile. Look, if you don't believe me, go look in the mirror. I guarantee you, when you look in the mirror and you smile at yourself, yourself is going to smile right back at you. That's telling you, you are great. You are divine. You are a king. You are a queen. You can do it. That's your God smiling through you. Now go share that godliness with everybody you meet this week coming up. This has been Pastor Jeff, and it's been my plum-pleasing pleasure, as Les Brown would say, to be the co-host and the host of this Tom Ford Fridays barbershop conversations for the men only. Look at here. Enjoy these messages, and we're going to take this to the Clubhouse.
I'm Renee Noor, model, creative director, founder of Global Women Wealth Warriors, Wellness Hub, and I'm Renee Noor, model, creative director, founder of Global Women Wealth Warriors, Wellness Hub, and GW3 Magazine. I dedicated my life and devoted my career into helping women and girls to achieving their goals. I've been passionate about empowering women and enriching men. This opportunity in working with the Global Women Wealth Warriors have afforded me the pleasure of traveling outside of the country to be a support unit, most importantly, to help impact and change lives. Our ultimate purpose is to help others to become whole from finance, spiritual, mental, as well as physical. We know there are challenges and obstacles to get you to the next level. However, it's time for you to level up, boss up, and welcome to Power to Soar.